And that's simply because people have no experience with spirituality, because there is such a huge lack of that in Western culture. Hello YouTube, Kodandi here from this beautiful place in the forest. And I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, and I don't even know who exactly or what exactly I'm disappointed in, but I'm disappointed, right? I type in spirituality to see what hashtags are people using related to spirituality. A lot of them are like consciousness, meditate, third eye, pineal gland. But then also you get DMT and psychedelics. And I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that so many people are associating psychedelic drug use with spirituality, that it's coming up in the top hashtags associated with spirituality. I'm really super disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed. And recently there was this controversy with one of the Buddhist podcasts. It was like Buddhist Geek or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I don't follow a lot of these Buddhist things, but there was all this controversy because this Buddhist blog and this Buddhist podcast, I think they had a blog as well, was saying that psychedelic use made this guy a better Buddhist. And that is the most bizarre and absurd thing I have ever heard. Someone that thinks that psychedelics make you a better Buddhist knows nothing about Buddhism and is not actually practicing Buddhism. Because the point of, Buddhism is a branch of Hinduism, technically. The Buddha came from Mahanirvani Akata. He was a monastic in the Mahanirvani Akata, which is the same organization that my guru belongs to, Paramahamsa Nityananda. And so the teachings of Buddhism are, at their essence, the same as Hinduism. And of course, practice takes very different forms, especially when you get into different, regional folk customs. But the thing about Buddhism is that it has all of the tools to get you to altered states of consciousness without needing to use psychedelics, without needing to use substances, for one. For two, the nature of the psychedelic experience is chemical and not spiritual. And it's something that people don't realize, that here, especially here in the West, and I don't see these problems so much with people who are raised in Hindu or Buddhist cultures, but here in the West, we are very much spiritual orphans and spiritually starved, because Western religion in many ways has not adequately promoted the spiritual experience for people. And there are plenty of Western religious traditions that have mystical techniques and mystical cults and mystical experiences, but they're so far removed from the culture that people don't know about them, don't know how to access them. They're not readily available. They're not readily available to ordinary people. And so ordinary people that want to have spiritual experiences are coming up empty. And so people go seeking in other places, and they find psychedelics, because psychedelics create a non-ordinary state of consciousness. They create these, different sorts of experiences that we cannot understand using our ordinary logic and thinking. And so when things don't make sense like that, we tend to jump to labeling it as spiritual. Like, this happens across the board. When people don't understand something, they label it as spiritual. This happens in archaeology. When archaeologists find an object and they don't know what it is, it kind of gets put into the religious category. When, who knows, maybe it's, completely not religious at all. But It happens across the board. The things that we don't understand, we categorize as spiritual or religious. Psychedelic experiences, people do that with as well when they are not. And I am telling you, I am someone that was having mystical spiritual experiences long before I ever did psychedelics. And never once have I been confused about what was happening when I took psychedelics versus what was happening when I was having spiritual experiences. Because they are so vastly different. The experience is so incredibly different. And oftentimes a spiritual experience is not going to like leave you flat out on the floor staring up at the ceiling, seeing visuals. That is a chemical experience. Spiritual experiences tend to be so much more subtle, but they're also very deep and very long lasting. People think that they need to go on a vision quest like every year. If you were having a true vision quest, you would not need to go on it every year. A vision quest is a real spiritual experience that you would do like once in a lifetime, maybe twice if there was some crisis in your life. But yeah, the psychedelic experience is chemical. It's like going to the movie theater. It is an entertainment thing that you see that your brain produces because of the way that your brain chemicals are altered. It is not a spiritual experience. So really, I urge you to find a proper spiritual teacher that can teach you how to get into altered states of consciousness without the use of psychedelic drugs. These people are out there. They don't just belong to like Hinduism or Buddhism. Of course, these traditions have very, venerable ancient traditions of altered states of consciousness, higher consciousness really. But also there are other traditions that have this as well that you can find if that's what you're inclined to. But please, like, oh my God, it's just, I'm disappointed that psychedelics are so strongly associated with spirituality that it's coming up in my like hashtag marketing. I'm really disappointed. So, okay. Nityananda.